Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are having a look at another devblog for update Drone Age. Now this devblog is pretty cool. It's about the Su-25s, specifically the Su-25 and Su-25K. Now if you're interested in looking on these vehicles, the dev server will be up once this video goes out, so you can check that out on your own client, so you can see if you want to kind of pick this thing up. When it comes to the Su-25s, there's going to be at least one standard tech tree one and a pre-order version, so very similar to how they did the A10s. There is slight differences between the Su-25 and 25K, which is the premium one. The Su-25K has access to slightly different air-to-air missiles, probably won't make too much of a difference. If you are interested in picking up the Su-25K, if you use my partner link, which you will find in the description of the video, you can get yourself a 3% discount on the vehicle, and also you can get my decal when it comes to the game. You also support the channel, so I can make more videos and keep pushing forward as we've been doing. For pre-order bonuses for the Su-25K, you get access to 2,000 Golden Eagles, 15 days of premium accounts, the pre-order bonus title of Flying Tank, the Rook decal, which looks really nice, and also a pre-order camouflage, which is the Shark demonstration camouflage with the Czech Air Force insignia on it. Let's get into the history of these vehicles. With the 1969 competition for a new battlefield aircraft, the Sukhoi Design Bureau submitted the T-8 project, which had previously been developed, an easy-to-manufacture and maintain frontline attack aircraft designed for direct support of ground forces and capable of operating from unprepared airfields. After winning the competition, the Sukhoi engineers began construction of prototypes. The first prototype was ready by November of 1974, and in February of the following year, the aircraft took to the skies for the first time. The aircraft's first test pilot was Vladimir Ilyushin, the son of the creator of the famous World War II Sturmovix, and in 1980, prototypes of the T-8 aircraft were successfully used in combat operations in Afghanistan, and from April of 1981, massively produced aircraft under the designation Su-25 began to enter Soviet combat units. Since then, the Su-25 attack aircraft has been in service with the Soviet Air Force and also exported extensively. The first foreign operator of the Su-25K exports was Czechoslovakia in 1984. Aircraft of the Su-25 series are still in service with the aerospace forces of the Russian Federation, as well as a number of other countries. So when looking at the Su-25, what you're getting is a pretty decent ground attacker, which obviously isn't going to be at the top tier of the game. When we had a look at the test server or the sneak peek stream from the devs, what you ended up seeing was it being at 9.3, which isn't kind of a surprise, because after the A10 was added at 9.7, these two have very similar armaments, at least when it comes to their air-to-air capabilities, where they're only really differing when it comes to their air-to-ground stuff. The Su-25 has access to a 30mm gun. The GSH-230 rapid-fire cannon only has 250 rounds, though, so you're going to have to be pretty accurate with it to be able to do a ton of damage. It has all of the CCIPs that you could really enjoy, has the rocket stuff, which is going to be the main things with this, but also on top of that, it has a ton of different modifications for it, which will mean that you'll be able to bring out just a massive amount of secondary ordnance. From the ground pounding point of view, it has standard bombs ranging from 100 to 500 kilos. It has rockets from S5Ks to S130s, and even the big rockets, such as the S24s and 25s. The vast majority of the modifications for this vehicle are going to be extra armaments on it. It even has many guided missiles as well that you'll be used to, the S25L, KH-25, KH-25ML, and also the KH-29L to be able to go after stuff such as tanks. I personally don't really like these missiles, because they're not fire and forget, so you have to keep the nose pointed at the enemy as you're moving in, and also the actual targeting UI that's used for it I find very not great to use. The guided bombs from other nations and also stuff like Mavericks I feel are much more useful for these, just because they're much easier to actually use. Now, the air-to-air portion of this thing is much more interesting for the vehicle. What you end up having with this vehicle is R60s. Now, R60s are very strong. They're incredibly good missiles. They have a huge overload and generally very, very good. They also have access to the R60M missiles, which are the kind of all-aspect variants of the R60s. And at 9.3, if this thing stays there, it's going to be incredibly powerful as a missile, basically 2 guaranteed kills if you know what you're doing with them, since you can only carry 2 overall. The other thing to also note is the premium version. The major difference between them is the premium one got access to R60 MKs, and MKs are the ones which are a little bit more resistant to flares. And generally you won't see too many flares, especially in a down tier here, but in an up tier, especially 10-3 aircraft, do have quite a lot of countermeasures on them. The main problem with this machine, even though it has all of this ordnance, it only has access to engines which are not exactly crazy powerful. It's not going to be a Mach-capable aircraft. The highest speed you're going to be able to go is 1,000 kilometers an hour, and if you're fully laden the thing with all of these different armaments and all these different options, it's going to be incredibly slow during the air. So in ground, for example, if you're running it with the really nice lineup, stuff like the T-64s, the T-72s, even maybe the T-80s if you're stretching it, it could actually be very useful if you have air superiority and also if there is no AAs around the place. But that is obviously not a great scenario. Kind of very similar to the A-10, where the vast majority of the times when the A-10s are used in ground, they don't actually do too much. You know, many of them go for gun runs or they go for bomb runs and they just get annihilated as they move around. But in air, since it has these pretty nice missiles, and if you want, you don't have to bring like the really heavy ordnance, the missiles and the general dogfighting aspects of this thing might actually work pretty well in its favor. The other thing is it has a ridiculous amount of countermeasures, just like all of these different aircraft do. It has over 200 of them, so it can kind of be able to, stop pretty much any missile that's coming in. And since the engines are not afterburning, it also means that the heat signature this thing actually gives off, even though it's got the 2 engine setup, is not going to be as much as other aircraft. So the countermeasures, which mainly come out of the back of it, will be completely fine to stop the missiles coming in. Just got to remember how to use them. This vehicle also in the tech tree is coming after the IL-28SH. It's not coming after the other SU series, so this will mean that it'll be easier to grind the IL-28SH, which actually is a pretty good ground attacker when it comes to ground, because it has a lot of different rockets that it can use, and it can be incredibly powerful. So that at least benefits that vehicle. As an actual premium grinder, though, I'm not sure how I feel about the Su-25, because you don't really grind too hard in ground realistic. It'll be good because you'll have a spaded one, so you won't have to research out all the modifications and everything. But if you are actually wanting to, actually grind out a tech tree with it, usually you want to play stuff like Air Realistic because you can get more RP, and I really don't think this thing's going to be that good in Air Realistic. You're going to have to be looking around you all the time. You basically are just a missile platform. The Yak-38 has actually stayed around these BRs for a very long time, and it feels exactly the same way as this thing will as well. You have 2 missiles, they're very strong, you launch them, then you're dead weight. The difference between that and the Su-25 is the Su-25 is going to be a little bit slower, might be a bit more maneuverable, will have access to countermeasures, so a slightly different playstyle, but I don't think it's going to revolutionize how stuff like that's going to play. I'd still rather use stuff like MiG-21s in that area to be quite powerful. There was a bit of a leak where there was actually 3 variants of the Su-25. We only saw 2, one in the tree and one as a premium, so maybe there'll be even a 3rd one that'll come in for the vehicle itself. But it's good to see, once the A10 was added, a lot of people were asking for this vehicle, and now it's here. Now people can enjoy it. It had a really nice video with the teaser setting out, which was really cool. But overall, it's just good to see. It's just one of those which many people have been asking for a long time, and now it's finally here, so we can all enjoy it. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.